Hey everybody, Tim here with Destination Delaware. Welcome back to the DLZ Podcast. We've got another great conversation lined up today with the people, places, and organizations that make Delaware County such a great place to live, work, and visit. So let's get into it. Sean Hughes.
Tim Wilson.
How are you, my friend?
Good, buddy.
It's good to see you.
Good seeing you as well.
Sean, you are the Economic Development Director for the City of Powell.
Yes.
I know you've had a storied career in economic development, but all the way back to, and even some tourism, right? Back in your not so recent history?
I did run a tourism bureau. I actually created a tourism bureau. So that was really fun.
Yeah, it is. It's supposed to be fun, right? We go on vacation and travel and tour for fun, right?
That's what people think, right?
We hope so anyway. Or hope they're having a good time. I've seen some folks leaving some of the bigger theme parks and stuff, and I don't know, maybe they didn't have the best time, or maybe they just overdid it. So that's what we like to encourage people to partake and have a great day outside, but also remember, sunscreen, shade, things like that. Yeah. Don't burn yourselves up. And we've got a lot of amazing amenities that are indoors. Yeah. That you're welcome to take part of, air conditioning and shade and things like that.
It's responsible tourism.
That's right. Exactly.
We're concerned about your health.
We are.
We are the healthiest county in the state.
You got that right. So yeah. We just love to see a nice balance. Don't stay out there too long. Bring the boat and get out there on the lake. It's amazing. But we have a lot of great things to do indoors in the evenings, and you can cool off and get out of the sun. We want you to have a great stay no matter how long you're here. So
that's good. I'd buy into that. If you stay out too long, you look like me. So, yeah.
Well, I don't know what you're saying there, man, because we're in the same boat, no pun intended. So Sean, maybe talk a little bit about, what economic development looks like, what economic development is doing for those folks. We hear it a lot, right? Yeah. We hear a lot of economic development conversations in the newspaper, on the news at night, podcasts, wherever, but maybe a little bit more about, it might be a little more complicated, I think, sometimes, and people might think it's just, running out and bringing in the next great big development that's brings a ton of jobs. It's not that easy, right?
Definitely not that easy. And, I think for a long time, economic development was about, bringing in the large industrial employers and the subsequent payroll that goes with those. And that's how communities funded things, right? I think economic development has truly evolved. And fortunately, when I started in it, I didn't have the pleasure of actually just doing one thing. As you mentioned, I had to run a tourism. I created a tourism bureau. I actually ran the Chamber of Commerce, which is our umbrella corporation, and then the Economic Development Agency, which was our CIC, because all those things were really truly tied together for the community I served. And I think that's what it gets down to, is what are you trying to do for the community you're serving? But with that being said, economic development has become more about community development, which our planning brethren probably hate for us to say, because that was usually something that they only were concerned with. But we have to be partners in that and contribute what we do into that equation in order for a community to be truly successful. There's so many facets to economic development that we have to do so much more than we did 20, 25 years ago. Even 10 years ago, really.
Well, and maybe you can touch then on some of the misconceptions. I think a lot of folks would like to think, the economic development director can go out, wave their magic wand, and the next job creator appears, and it's very competitive, right? Columbus is growing like a weed. Columbus Metro is growing like a weed, and is very competitive for some of these factories, businesses, things like that. They do create a lot of jobs, a lot of tax revenue, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at large employers, and that is a misconception, is that we only spend our time on large employers, right? I'll get that one out of the way. I would say for serving the City of Powell, and actually when I served the City of Delaware, it was probably 75-80% small business development, which is awesome. I mean, that's really what my background was anyhow. And but I think the misconception is that, we can wave our magic wand, that but what companies have looked for over the years has changed. right? just like everything else in life changes, what matters to them has changed as the economy has changed, and what all of our countries are facing with workforce issues and so on and so forth. So, I mean, back when I started, it was about incentives. If your community could put for a better incentive package than the neighboring community or one clear across the country, you could win. You had to have good land, right, and utilities. But if you could put together a good incentive package, but now it's, like right now, it's more about workforce. Do you have the appropriate workforce that they need, or can you train up a workforce to respond to their needs very quickly? So, I mean, so when I started economic development, almost a little over 20 years now ago, we didn't deal with workforce at all. I never touched workforce. I was on the county's workforce board, but I think that was more because I was the chamber director than the economic development director. But now it's all about that. Like, how do you upscale your workforce? How do you attract in the appropriate workforce to live in your community? Which again goes back to community development, right? Mm-hmm. Having a community that people want to live in. And those are the communities that are going to win and attract the most companies because they already have the workforce that's desired.
Sure. I know, travel tourism, people think that, our main goal here is just to bring in more people, more tourists, things like that. But it's also, as you mentioned, workforce wise, quality of life for employers, when they're looking for a place to locate, okay, what are my new employees going to be able to do in this community? Yeah. And why would they want to relocate here? As Delaware County has an amazing amount of amenities, quality of life amenities, parks, recreation, medical, amazing school systems, things like that. And we've started to see, even on our side of things, that's starting to, work itself in. Aside from the massive amount of workforce required to operate all of these great amenities as well, right?
Yeah, tourism, I think, is the forgotten leg of the stool, if you will, of economic development. I think it's people are like, well, that's just fun, but no, it's economics. I mean, one, it brings vital revenue into a community so they can afford the infrastructure and amenities that the residents want. Not just the visitors, but the residents. But it also does offer those, like you said, those amenities, the soft infrastructure, as I always call it, that the community needs to be attractive to residents, really, in addition to those visitors. I mean, as I always put it, if we put a large family entertainment center in the middle of Powell, that's something that our residents desperately want, but a lot of that's going to get paid for by those that are visiting from the Columbus Zoo and other attractions in the area that are going to utilize that. So how do we get something nice that our residents want by making somebody else pay for it? That's a win-win to me.
That's right. Yeah, we'll take it. Well, as we know, Delaware County's tourism economy is over $2 billion, so it's significant. We've been in the top 10 now for a while. Statewide, so we're certainly proud of that.
Well, that's due to your work. I mean, your team has really put our county on the map. So my hat's off to you folks.
Well, we appreciate that. I'd like to say it's easy, but it's certainly easier with the sheer volume of things to do and the diversity of things to do in county from Shawnee Hills and the Memorial Tournament over there all the way over to Westerville, Columbus, Polaris area. And then up into City of Delaware, City of Sunbury and Galena, some very historic places mixed in with that. It's just an amazing cross section, mm-hmm. I guess is the way I like to put it, because we have literally everything you can imagine on Polaris Parkway. Then you go further north, amazing outdoor recreation, some historic downtowns. Powell is one of those. So it's just you can get everything within a 15, 20-minute drive. It's pretty amazing. So I think we enjoy what we do, and it certainly makes it easier when you have all these amazing amenities to go with it. So
I think the challenge for us as the surrounding localities is really taking better advantage of those amenities. I mean, they're in our backyard, but when the City of Powell did the economic development plan that led to hiring me, they said, you've got these two huge major draws here. You have the zoo and you have players, and you're not really even like touching the amount of visitors that are coming in and having them come into your community and spend money. So it really did become a major tenet of our success. And how do we take advantage of that and build off of that? So again, at the end of the day, our residents can have a better quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Within that conversation, we always get back to, okay, we ultimately want to see the best quality of life for residents in Delaware County. The flip side of that is, Powell is growing like a weed, right? Lots of new construction and obviously in the surrounding area, Delaware County as a whole, we're seeing a significant amount of new development. I guess from an economic development standpoint, how do we make sure we maintain, that historic, that quaint feel that people that move to Delaware County, they thrive for, they wanted it, and they get there and, so we want to have all the amenities. We want to maintain historic charm. There's got to be a fine line. We're trying to balance that, right? And it's not easy. Everybody wants the newest, latest, greatest thing, but at the same time, how do we maintain, that quaint, historic downtown like Powell's downtown is really cool. Some great restaurants and retail down there. So how do we strike that balance?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this is my 6th downtown redevelopment revitalization project. So it almost becomes secondhand to me and almost easy to think about that. But for a lot of people, they don't understand that. How do you, like you say, maintain that quaint small town charm while also expanding and offering the amenities that people want? I mean, it comes down to intentional and responsible development, listening to your residents, listening to all your constituent groups, your residents, the tourists that are coming in. Why are they coming into your community? Is it because it's a quaint small town area that is attractive to them? If that's something that's true, then and both of those groups are saying it, then it's critically important to your success, right? And I think most communities like Powell, like Delaware, they can say that. And Sunbury, I think, is on the same page with that. But, so what does that mean? Is it architecture? Is it community gathering? Because I had a very wise community planner tell me once that, community isn't really about buildings. Community is about people. So we even asked, I remember once when we were doing a project in Delaware, we asked the residents that, what is important to you about this area? Like, again, does it come down to the buildings and the architectural style, whatnot? Or is it because it's a place where you can feel comfortable in gathering and having a drink with your neighbors, creating memories with your neighbors and friendships that last a lifetime? And it really centered more about that. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that architecture and whatnot's not important, because I think the second part of that equation that's everybody wants the storybook town that it's in Hallmark movies, right. and you can truly go overboard with that though, and I think we always say you can build the Disney version or the Hallmark version of a downtown, and you don't want to do that. I mean, you still want to be authentic. So how do you figure out what the character of that community is? And sometimes that character is not obvious. Some communities have very obvious character because they have a lot of existing building stock inventory that's there. So you can kind of figure out the architectural styles. You can figure out, the history of that community and whatnot. For a city like Powell, we don't have a very normal downtown. It's not, we don't have 3-story buildings, 4-story buildings lining a central couple blocks with a green space in the middle. We have, 1 to 2-story houses that were converted into commercial with a few commercial buildings on the 4 corners. That's a completely different thing to start with because you don't have a uniform architectural style. Our history is kind of varied. It was a railroad town, at one time. It also had a lot of horses and things like that, the horse farm surrounding it. So how do you pinpoint? You had the racetrack there, but nobody wants to talk about that, I don't think, which is unfortunate because that's a part of the history. Murphy's Party Barn. So how do you, again, take all of those things and wrap those into a responsible and intentional development that increases our building inventory and allows retailers and restaurants, the things that, again, community members and visitors want to come in and be more successful. If I stuff somebody into an old house and they spend a lot of money to convert that house into something they need, they're already behind because they just spent more money than they ever had to convert something into something they needed, rather than just having a vanilla box space that's beautiful, but still vanilla box. I can go in, I can spend a little bit of money to prepare it for my business, and let's go. So, and that's really, I think, what we're trying to do right now is create spaces where the residents and visitors can get what they want, but we can have spaces where the businesses can actually truly succeed, and also have the 24/7 foot traffic that they need to succeed. And that's the other part of the equation that everybody wants to ignore. Nobody wants residents to come in their backyard. I moved in here. I want to shut the door. Nobody else can come in after me. That's not realistic, honestly, unless we have people living. As I put it last night at a community open house, if you think about the 1800s, when you went into a downtown, what did you see?
Horses.
Well, you saw 2 3-story buildings, again, lighting central blocks.
Right.
First floor was retail, commercial, or you had your dentist there or your whatever, your services. What was upstairs? Apartments.
Right.
A lot of the shopkeepers lived up there, actually, back in that time period. So
mixed use isn't a new thing, right?
Mixed use is not a new thing. It's actually centuries old, because if you go to European communities that are very tight-knit, go to Italy, you've been there, and their villages and whatnot, they're quaint, they're beautiful, they're small. They have a very tight-knit sense of community, but they also have places where people do business in the first floor and live or work up above.
Yeah.
And we can't forget that that's actually what commerce was founded on. That's what our economies were founded on, is central locations where people can live, work, and play.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's a cliche thing to say, but it's so true, and it's centuries old.
Absolutely. Well, I know some of my time spent in Europe and otherwise, there's a lot of that. Folks, they don't venture out of their own hometown all that often. They work downstairs, they live upstairs, and the community has a central place, where everybody gathers, and it's very interesting. I love to see what all you guys are doing, is trying to preserve some of these downtowns in that create that social area for people to gather. I think it's really cool. I know Powell, as you mentioned, with the railroad. Our friends at Nocterra have embraced that pretty well, I think. Yeah. But it creates a challenge for you guys as a city with this, a major rail system right through the middle of town, and it almost kind of splits the downtown because there's 2 halves to it. I guess what are you guys trying to do in order to kind of maybe help that collaboration and make sure that we don't have a east-west kind of thing going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's optimizing the space that you have. You said in Europe, those folks would not feel like they had to leave for anything, and history's full circle because we obviously went through decades of, especially in the 80s, it actually kind of started in the 70s, where strip malls kind of took over the country. And people were able to go to those and get what they needed. You had service merchandise and general, some of the other old retailers and Montgomery Ward and things, and Sears, Roebuck, and
don't forget Hex. That was one
Hex,
of my favorite.
yeah. And then catalogs came about, and that started changing retail forever and how people got their stuff. But still, people like to touch and feel things, and they want to pick it up before they buy it. Well, I mean, now we're getting away from that, and retail has had to become more experiential again, that look and touch and feel.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you remember, I think it was service merchandise where you went in and you actually didn't like pick the stuff up and put it in your cart. You could fiddle with it and play with it, and if it was electronics, it was turned on and whatnot. And there was a place called Incredible Universe that did kind of the same thing.
I remember that place.
But you wrote it on an order form, you took it up and checked out, and then it came down the conveyor belt and you put it, and then the person would either help put it in your car if it was big, or you'd take it out. We're kind of coming back to that, right? Mm-hmm. Is where can people interact with stuff, but they might still order it online,
right?
And have it shipped to their house, and that I think the bricks and mortar component is still important. And that's something that, as we look at these downtown spaces and whatnot, don't try to sell what somebody can buy every day someplace else. Have something that's unique, but have it in a way that people can interact with it and then get it in a convenient way. Because even when I go to tourist towns, I'm like, you might have a rental car that doesn't have much space in it, right? You like rented a sports car because you want to go to a coastal town, have some fun. Well, you stop at an antique store, it's like, well, I can't stick that in the trunk.
Yeah.
How am I getting that home? So if that same retailer said, well, you can go to my website, or I can just take the order here and have it shipped to you. Win-win. So, I think as we work with small businesses, especially on the retail front, how do you encourage them to still have that online presence, that very strong presence, and take advantage of some of the larger online retailers like Amazon and whatnot? They can have stores on there. And actually, I mean, those big behemoths do support a lot of small retailers now. But how do you do that and still maintain that bricks and mortar presence in a downtown and in that kind of environment? That's what we have to get to. And then again, taking advantage of the foot traffic that's generated by your restaurants and your bars and your family entertainment. Those are the reasons people truly come to downtowns, I think, now, not for buying stuff. They're coming for experiences and entertainment.
Sure.
And then retail is entertainment. So
yeah, I know. I mean, we're blessed. We have multiple communities in the county that have quaint, historic downtowns. Powell's no exception. I find it very walkable. You can park on the street, tree-lined streets. It's just quintessential American downtown, if you ask me. And so we love to see that. And I think that's one thing when people ask us, travel tourism is just as competitive as economic development, because, while we meet at these meetings with our peers, peer groups, well, they're all working to bring people to their communities as well, So we're all competing over this group of folks that are interested in getting out and seeing things, and how do we maintain relevance in that space? And as you mentioned, experiential has gotten huge. People want to do stuff, and this younger generation seems to want to get involved and do activities more so than maybe previous generations. But we've seen an uptick of that. Is people want to they do want to get out of their car. We might be buying our staples on Amazon or whatever, but there are some things I think that people are still want to get out, try on. Sizing is a big thing, and things like that. So I still think there's always going to be room for retail, and quite honestly, if you package that with what these quintessential American downtowns, historic downtowns, you package that ability to shop and like you said, pick things up and look at it with entertainment, dining. We have some amazing dining in county and in Powell as well. There's a couple of my favorites. I'm not going to say it because there's so many in Delaware County.
You can't name one.
I really, and I get called out on that at times, but it's like there are some amazing eateries in this county.
Yeah.
And, it's obvious to me but I have to pace myself. But, being able to combine all those things together, it makes a day trip, makes a weekender, the people can come and spend all weekend, and, they can explore. There's lots of things to do. And, Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, I have a Gen Z child, just junior or senior, incoming senior in college. It's hard to say that. I'm getting old, Tim.
Aren't we all, man? Aren't we all?
So I think that generation has spent so much of their life on electronics and developing relationships electronically and whatnot, that they're yearning for the things that we experienced when we were kids in the 80s and so on and so forth. That's why I think they like the music and everything from that time period. But they want to go to a place where they can create relationships, they can meet people, they can talk and create memories. And if a town can figure that out and how to capture that future generation, it's going to be a consumer for a very long time. That town wins. And that's really, I think, what we're really trying to do. Again, we don't have a lot of building stock, so we still have to create that. I mean, there's no getting around that. People ask, well, why do you want to redevelop Village Greens? Because, well, one, we don't have really much of a downtown right now. We have a few buildings. But how do we have, again, a place that has enough mass to it that that 22 to 30-year-old can come down there, spend an entire day with their friends, and spend money and create memories, and that's what we have to get to. I mean, as you know, like I remember people ridiculed me when I got into Delaware, and it's like we started packing in the first floors with restaurants, bars, and food-based establishments when food's tourism. And as I told people last night and other times, like, think about you yourself as a consumer. Say, you want to go on a date night with your wife. Are you more likely to go to a downtown that has one restaurant, or are you going to go to like the Short North that has 75? And that when you get there, say the restaurant you really desired is completely full and they're saying, I'm only taking reservations. Like, well, gosh darn, where am I going now?
Right.
If I'm already in a place that has a lot of options and whatnot, I can leave my car where I parked it because I want that convenient, easy, free parking. So leave my car, and then I'm going to go out on foot and I'm going to walk to the next place and say, well, this looks great. And I know that there's other great options because there's so many other options. And that's something that folks, communities have to concentrate on now. There's not all businesses that are like that, right? Restaurants, you could have 50 restaurants in a row and they'd all do well. You can't have like 50 coffee shops in a row. They're not all going to do well. 50 of the retailer that sells the exact same thing, that's not going to do well. But for some reason that particular niche of retail, of consumerism, restaurants, you can stack them in and they all succeed.
Well, it's kind of like the food truck festival concept, right?
Yeah.
Those are, they're still popular, but they got wildly popular, 10 years back or whatever. I mean, some of these downtowns have enough food offerings that it's kind of like, a permanent food truck festival, honestly, because there's so many different choices. And, these communities are bringing in, what's the latest fad? I mean, we've had, what is
donuts here?
Donuts.
We have so many donut places and coffee places.
And they're amazing.
Yeah.
Again,
I saw a community actually is starting a donut trail. So we could have a donut trail, donut and coffee trail.
Donut and coffee trail. We do have a coffee trail in county.
See, there you go. That's right. We do.
We do have a coffee trail. And we have some amazing coffee houses around county, and that's what we wanted to talk about those because to me it's just part of that weekend where there's so many great coffee places, and they're one-off, they're small business. We love to support the small business as well as the big, but they all have their own unique story, unique offerings, things like that. So I think that's a big deal. But having so many different choices, and I don't know how many times we've gone somewhere and she doesn't want what I want, but you know what? We can get what we want. We carry it out, and there's some quaint spaces, outdoor spaces, and we sit outside and eat it, and it's pretty amazing. If they have a door, it's
even better, right? Because you can take your alcoholic beverage out, your adult beverage,
exactly.
Go out there and catch that picnic table or that cafe table and enjoy the scenery.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we resolve arguments over where are we going to eat. We got it all. We've got it all. We'll just find something.
See, in economic development, we're helping you maintain your relationships. We're all about marriages and maintaining those.
Who knew, Sean? What a wide net you guys podcast, man. Who knew? So I guess what are some things on the horizon for Powell right now that, you're excited about, or, you feel like there's some great opportunities coming for the city of Powell to develop here in the, say next, I know things take time, but next 5 to 10 years, maybe.
Well, I mean, we're essentially a landlocked community, right? The ability for us to continue annexing land and whatnot is fairly limited without true partnerships with some of our surrounding communities and entities. So we have to try to figure out how to optimize what we have. And the Village Green Project is a prime example of that. It's about optimization. I think we bought 32 acres of the Bennett farm and turning that into a large, more active, interactive park. With some fantastic features. This summer, you'll have the first component of that, which is the multi-use trail that'll go along Olentangy 750 into downtown, into the east side neighborhoods. Those people are truly excited about that because now they have a very safe route to get downtown on bike and foot, which they didn't have before. They truly, they had to get in their car and then go park again. And nobody wants to do that if you live next door. So that's exciting. But, having, again, the intentional and optimized park space like that and some other changes that our parks master plan will lead to with some of their other park space that, we're not done acquiring space. I think there's other opportunities for us to acquire additional park space and community gathering land. But again, comes down to optimization and better using the land that we have. So downtown, again, going back to what is a downtown and defining that, and creating that sense of community space where people can actually, in a very intimate way, gather. Like you said, with your wife, I can take Russ. I can take food from Prohibition. I can take food from Local Roots, wherever, and then go gather, set at a nice table. There might be a band playing there on site. And really truly enjoying that space and meeting your neighbors and having true conversations and developing relationships. So, the Village Green Project is really about that. And I mentioned earlier also, allowing people to be successful. We have to stop the revolving doors of small businesses. We know what the formula is to make them successful, but we have to implement it.
Right.
And they can't really do it by themselves. They can increase their marketing budget and whatnot and what they're selling and whatnot. But to create foot traffic, that's the community's responsibility from an economic development standpoint.
Sure. I guess along those lines, what makes Powell, a competitive place? I'm a first-time business owner. I'd like to, start whatever retail or restaurant business. What it is about Powell? What are some things about the Powell community that would be in my best interest and make it competitive for someone, looking to locate or to relocate, things like that, or add a second location?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just start with the local market. I mean, if that alone is one of the strongest retail markets in the state of Ohio. We have more spending potential than pretty much any other community in the state of Ohio. I mean, our median household income is approaching $200,000. So what's that tell you? And the disposable income that comes with that. And these are also very educated people. Their kids tend to be more educated. Their kids are. I had 2 high schoolers come in and pick up my hot water heater this weekend. I mean, these are sophomores in high school, and they created their own haul-away business. I'm like, this is awesome. These kids are very entrepreneurial, and they respect other entrepreneurs and want to support and shop with other entrepreneurs. So that's a neat community for other entrepreneurs who say, I want to create a donut shop. Let's not do another donut shop, but I want to create a bagel shop in downtown Powell. If it's good, if they have a good product and they have good service and good pricing, the local community is going to love that. They're going to support that, and they have the income to do that. a lot of our income is going outside of Powell right now. So our opportunity is to capture that, with, again, the right mix of businesses that the community wants. The second part of that equation really is the tourism side, what you do every day, and 2 million people. And that's going to grow, right? You've got an RFQ or RFP out for a hotel at the Columbus Zoo right now, which that and some of the other changes the zoo wants to make, I can foresee the zoo being up to 4+ million, like a Kings Island or Cedar Point, right? You get 10 million people coming in on the other side with Polaris. You've got Allen Creek, which draws, I don't even know how many people anymore, but
it's almost impossible to track, to be
right. And these folks are coming in, they're looking for places to spend money, spend time. So, I mean, the other exciting projects that we're working on is, one of the things that we discovered is we have no lodging opportunities in Powell. You can't spend an overnight there. There's some Airbnbs out on VRBO and Airbnb, but that's very limited. So we have a boutique hotel going in on the west side of the railroad tracks. That's more of an Airbnb style staffless boutique hotel. You check in online, you reserve online, check in online. The only time you see staff is if you have a problem. Hopefully you don't.
Right.
But their living room and their amenities are the entire downtown. Right. So let's get these people in here. You and I both know visitors likely to spend 2 to 3 times more money than a daytime trip.
Yep.
So let's
Almost
get them
guaranteed,
in here and get them. Now, 16 rooms is going to solve the problem. So we are working with another potential boutique hotel now to locate in our downtown. And again, get those people to stay there and spend money to support these businesses that have moved in here and that we're providing guidance and support with too.
Sure.
We're one of the only communities I've worked for in over 20 years that, we do have small business grants. If a business says, hey, I don't have an entrepreneur grant right now, but if say, a business comes from another community, they have an existing storefront in Worthington or wherever, they're like, hey, I want to open something over here too. I'd be like, well, what do you need to make that successful? What's causing you from taking that step forward? And then we have income tax, payroll-based grants through the Powell Development Corporation, which is my other job. You're on the board. Oh, wait a minute. That allows us to actually kind of give that money back to them for a short term to help them pay for some things and take that part of their equation away.
It's going to be interesting to see how this, the next 10 years, I think, are going to be very interesting from Shawnee Hills all the way over to Westerville, which, Westerville shares Franklin and Delaware County, as does the city of Columbus, as does the city of Dublin. So, we have some crossover there. But from, the Powell Road corridor from Shawnee Hills all the way to Westerville is just like an entertainment mecca.
Yeah.
And, how does, I guess that's a two-part question is, how does the city of Powell embrace that and capitalize on that? But also, with that kind of growth, it's going to increase traffic, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, that the infrastructure problems created with that, how does Powell, we want to capitalize on this. We have folks in the community with discretionary funds that they want to spend it.
Yep.
Well, we'd love to see them spend it in the city of Powell, but, how do we work on that? Obviously, tourism, we're here for you. But then also, how are we managing the traffic flow?
So smart communities use economic development to pay for infrastructure, period. The city of Powell, way before any of our times, had set up tax increment financing districts all through the city. There's 3 of them. And they're very strategically located. So anytime some improvement has been made, usually it's vertical construction, new buildings and additions, that new tax revenue is captured. Now the schools keep 100% of what they would have normally gotten. So it's non-school pay property tax revenue that is then captured into special funds that go back towards those infrastructure improvements, bike trails, multi-use trails. and new road infrastructure. We have the Scioto Street project and Depot Street projects that start downtown this summer to try to alleviate some of those traffic concerns and get people away from the dreaded four-way stop that they hate. You go down 750 and it's like, man, can I get away from this? Well, how else do I get around downtown? To the south, you can kind of go around Murphy, but we still want to get people downtown, but let them traverse downtown easier. Scioto Street, Depot Street will help do that. And then, potential road going through Village Green in the future with that potential redevelopment also would help alleviate some of that. But that gets paid for by development. Residents aren't really contributing to that like they think they are. It's really, again, that property tax that's being deferred, non-school property tax getting deferred from those new projects. So as development happens, let's use that development to get that whether it be transportation infrastructure, park amenities, whatever people need to have a better life, let's get that paid for by utilizing that.
Sure, absolutely. I guess, to go a step even further, I mean, we've talked a little bit about it already from a retail standpoint, how, retail is changing, experiential, people are looking for, experiential things. What, from an economic development standpoint, what are some trending things that, the city of Powell should be on the lookout for right now as to making sure that, we're engaging or we're ready or what have you. We talk about when Intel appears, is, the schools say, hey, are we ready? Are we training the people right? Do we have the, enough infrastructure for these, whether you like Intel or not? We see Anduril is set up, they're already producing whatever they're producing down there. And so, I guess what are some things that, can make sure that Powell maintains their competitiveness, but also at the same time, we always want to, we always try to circle back and make sure, are the folks that live here, are we serving them well? And maintaining the quality of life as well. Yeah. We're not just trying to create a giant parking lot for everybody. Yeah. I promise. Its growth is going to happen, and people love it here, and we have amazing amenities here. So to me, it's like, how do we get in front of this so that we can get folks here, we can realize that the financial gain for the community, but also maintaining that quality of life for the folks that live here.
Let's just take those two projects. We've been talking about them for a while. Mm-hmm. I think Intel was announced after 2020 or towards the end of 2020. So we're now 6 years into that project. It is happening. It's happening slower, I think, what people wanted. But these projects take decades, if not years, if not decades. That's what I meant to say. But that's a huge multi-billion-dollar thing. And put Anduril on top of that, which is rapidly growing, probably one of the fastest growing companies in the country today because it's funded by defense, right? Which is a hot sector right now. You take those two things in there, and I mean, just look at Chandler, Arizona, where Intel also has grown and grown and grown. And you look at when Intel first came into Chandler, that's Columbus in the 1950s. And what does Chandler look like today? That's our future. If any community that is around Columbus thinks they can stop that, good luck to them. I mean, how do you do it? Especially if you have high quality school systems. High quality school systems are the drivers of residential growth. I want to go where my kids can succeed. I want a better life for them than I had, right? That is the parent's dream. I am not going to move into a community. I've served a community that didn't have the highest quality school systems. And I saw what happens from a economic development standpoint when that's true. We don't have that problem. I mean, Olentangy School District is one of the best in the state. So when people come in here to work for Intel, and I already know several Intel workers live in Powell, in Liberty Township, and that's another thing I want to get to here in a moment. And Anduril's the same way. I mean, people who are coming into Anduril, a lot of them lived in California, driving across Columbus, and it's 45 minutes to an hour. That's nothing for them. They were used to sitting in traffic for 2 hours each way. I mean, so they're like, wow, Columbus is easy. Right. what we think is difficult is nothing to them. So they don't care about living in Powell with a good school system and traveling all the way to the southeast side of Columbus, right?
Sure.
So we are an attractive location for those workers and their families, and we will continue to be so. So again, how do you plan for that? How do you pay for the infrastructure that's necessary to continue to support that growth? Because you can't stop it, and especially for us because we're surrounded. As I mentioned, Powell itself is fairly landlocked. You won't see us grow past a certain point. We'll probably tap out, maybe 19,000 residents as a city. We're about 17, I think now, 16, 17. But if you look at the surrounding township, Liberty Township, it's booming. And, people want their little 5 acres, 3 acre parcels, their own slice of heaven and live out in the country, but everybody else does too. And they still want access to that school system. So, but we being the local municipality, we have to serve those folks too. There's obviously a lot of businesses that go into the township as well. But if you look at the mass of where most of that commerce is going to happen, it's going to happen in a metropolitan area, a city, because we have an economic development team. We have the incentives to actually help them. We have the business retention expansion, component to help them stay healthy and grow while they're here after they're already here. So, there's a lot of burden to that, and being part of a very rapidly growing region. Every city has to be looking at that right now. And if they're not, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
And I know, thankfully, I think almost every Delaware County municipality is. Sunbury, us. Even Shawnee Hills. They talk about a community that has embraced their fisherman village storybook history, and it's quaint, it's fun, it's charming. You're not going to see these big buildings and stuff there, but they are having fun with who they are and attracting people because of it. We all got to do that too.
Yeah, they've got some really cool new restaurants over there, coffee shop, things like that. Yeah, they've really done a nice job holding down the corner. That's what we call it.
The corner. That's right.
They're on the corner of Dublin and everything else to the west, and they're doing a great job over there holding
and they've
it down.
got that. We have that impact too. Dublin is our neighbor, and
Yep.
Dublin's not going to stop growing anytime soon.
Right.
And it's funny because people think of government boundaries as being these real things, and they're really not. They're man-made. They're usually about taxing districts, but the spillover of everything, your economic pressures, your how your infrastructure is being utilized, how residents and whatnot are using things and where they're working, that's not controlled by those jurisdictions. We don't have a passport that to go from Powell to Dublin and vice versa. So yeah.
Well, hope we never get to that. When we're talking about, obviously we have 3 cities that cross county line to the south. We have four chambers of commerce, tourism bureau, Main Street programs, Visit Powell, ourselves, there's so many entities that are all working to trying to, hopefully to make things better. I guess, where do you guys fit in, or how do you like to embrace the collaboration amongst all these? Because to us, it's wildly important that, we have great relations with all these folks, because it's so important for us to be able to get, the right messaging, and making sure that, we're meeting the needs of the constituency, not only from a county perspective, but each and every one of these municipalities, because a lot of the times we're, things that we're marketing, directly impact the downtown of whichever community, things like that. So we want to make sure, again, that we're being sensitive to everybody that lives there, but also that they can realize, the revenue that they need, tax revenue that they need to repave streets and do downtown beautification and things like that. So,
yeah, been again doing this for a long time, and collaboration and partnership is the only way you get things done. I was fortunate when I served Madison County because we created all those organizations, entities under one corporate umbrella, so we had to work together, and we actually shared staff and funding and everything else. It was fun. It's good times. Now we do have a lot of separate organizations. A lot of them have overlapping missions and visions. For us, it was about looking at what we had and how do we restructure it to embrace our partnerships. And we did. I mean, again, you're a direct recipient of that with the reformation of the Powell Development Corporation, which is a state of Ohio community improvement corporation, something that was developed decades ago here in the city of Powell to do economic development work for the city, but hadn't been fully utilized to the full opportunity of a CIC. So, again, when I got here, council's like, we want you to take a look at how do we make that organization better, to do more and be more collaborative. So we looked at a lot of models. I had my own experience in that, and came to the conclusion that multi-spoke collaborative model was best. So let's reformat the CIC to actually be a mechanism that pulls all those entities together into one board. And then we can have the difficult and opportunistic conversations that moves our community forward. Mm-hmm. So, with that, we do have the Chamber of Commerce at the table from a business retention expansion standpoint. Visit Powell, that's looking at our downtown every day and doing events and activities and promotion for downtown. We have the Destination Delaware, you being there, helping us not only strategically and directing us from a tourism and marketing standpoint, but actually even helping us carry forward some of our marketing and taking some of our revenues and utilizing you as our marketing firm, really, in that respect. Sure. We have the Delaware Entrepreneurial Center at Ohio Wesleyan University, which I think people thought was just to serve the city of Delaware. No, it's a county-wide entrepreneurial system, entrepreneurial entity. I'm one of the founders. That's why we founded it, to serve the entire county. So they're at the table now. In fact, the director of that is our chair. So we're able to offer entrepreneurial resources in the city of Powell every day that we weren't able to do before. I mean, if you look at it, I am one man. It's a one-person shop from an economic development standpoint. The capacity to add more people will take a while, but to get to having the staffing and the expertise that we need, we had to do it anyhow. Mm-hmm. But it just makes sense. I mean, again, going back to successful communities, if you look at all the successful communities in the state of Ohio and elsewhere, they've been doing this for a while. We have a formal way of doing that now, and I'm truly very excited about where we're going to go together.
Awesome. Yeah, I know myself personally and our organization, we're big on small business, and you mentioned the Entrepreneur Center at Ohio Wesleyan. We just had the Cohatch there in Powell just got open, the Lonnie Rooftop. Please check that out if you haven't.
Yummy.
I guess, from a small business standpoint, we love the small business because it brings something unique. I'm not picking on Olive Garden, so any lawyers out there, but you can get Olive Garden anywhere.
Yeah. Every community has one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But we have some amazing, unique offerings that is, it may be one of a couple, or it may be the only one, and that's the only place you can go and experience that. And I think that's so important from a travel tourism standpoint because, again, you can get Olive Garden anywhere, but, we're going to come into Powell because I know there's a restaurant there on the corner that sources everything locally, and it's amazing. And so, we're going to make a trek over there. So I'm intrigued, like how you guys are continuing to support small business, but also, have the smaller spaces that like an entrepreneur could move into. Yeah. You don't have to rent, an old Kroger's building to try to run a small business out of. You could never get ahead of the rent. So, having smaller spaces for some of these small businesses to exist, and ultimately, as we both want to see thrive, because we don't want to see a revolving door. Some of these places become a landmark. This is what we do on Saturday mornings. We go down to the bakery and we get our coffee up the street and, what have you. And, we don't want to see a constant revolving door business that just, that gives opportunities for them to go somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk about restaurants. It's anywhere from $500,000 to over $1 million to put a kitchen in a building. And that's if the building's just a box, right? You start again talking about some of these little houses and stuff. It's like, wow. I mean, nobody can afford to do that. So having the, again, intentional development that you're putting the right building stock in place that fits the community, but at the same time offers people the opportunity to be successful, entrepreneurs to be successful, because that's who you do want in your downtown, right? And we've had communities that, and you can put a Subway in your downtown and whatnot. Take and go food's cool for the local workforce and whatnot. But if somebody's coming in and they want to experience your community and the people in it, they're going to go to the local mom and pop restaurant instead, right? I run a softball organization, so I'm forced to go all over the state of Ohio and the contiguous states with teams almost every weekend during warm weather. And when we go there, I'm not looking for the Subway. I'm looking for a local sub shop where I can grab food and go back to the fields, and then after the games, go have an actual nice meal in a good barbecue place or whatnot. So, we know that. We know food's tourism. And then, once you get them into the spaces, again, providing that support mechanism that will continuously make them successful, whether that be training. I have had a situation where a restaurant's walk-in cooler went down, and I was like, well, what if we helped you out and we gave you a percentage of your payroll income taxes back to you for a couple of years to help the repairs of that walk-in cooler? Would that help out? And structuring that way through the Powell Development Corporation to be able to do that. Those are the things that you have to do together. I mean, this is all about partnership. It's partnership with all the entities you named earlier, but also partnership with the entrepreneurs, because they really can't just do it on their own. If they don't have somebody to lean on occasionally, whether it be the entrepreneurial center, which, if it's a training situation or guidance, or somebody needs a market plan built or something, I don't have the time to do that. But because of the structure, I can call up Steve Flaherty or introduce them by email and say, hey, they need such and such and such. Can you put that together for them? They need your help.
Sure.
Follow back with me. Let me know that's happening. And that happens now. So we've built, I wouldn't call it a safety net. You're not going to stop everybody from failing, but it's at least a support mechanism that I hope goes a long way to making sure everybody's more successful and has the resources they need.
So I guess from, your experiences, economic development, how long have you been in Powell now? It's a couple of years, right?
It'll be 3 years in December.
3 years in December.
Yeah.
I guess now you've been there long enough to kind of see, what is the vision, I guess, for Powell? We've touched on it on, revitalizing the Village Green, things like that, but maybe your 5 to 10 year vision of, the City of Powell, where you're headed, things you maybe are going to key in on from an economic development standpoint.
And it comes down to it's creating a vibrant community where residents and community can be made and built, and memories can be made, while also, again, attracting those visitors to come in and support that.
Sure.
And that's a challenge too, because I know sometimes some residents are like, oh, I don't know all these other people coming in here. And it's like, yeah, look at it as an opportunity. One, it helps us build the amenities that you want through all that development, and I talked about how that's funded earlier. But it also is an opportunity to promote your community. what's awesome about your community? Why should the rest of the world know about your community? And maybe they'll come back. Maybe they'll move there someday. Maybe they'll open a business there someday. And that's the one thing I always encourage everybody else, whether you're the person that's taking a coffee order, you're the barista at a coffee shop, or you're our police officer who's directing traffic, you're actually an economic development officer. So if somebody's coming in here from the zoo, they brought their family in here and they have a good experience and they're looking around, well, you don't know that person's story. They may own, an IT software company or whatever, and they're looking for a place to move and move that company. Well, you just if you did a good job and you promote our community that way, they're like, you know what? I like this place. I could see putting my kids in those schools. I could see us being here, and they might move their company here. And then I got a real project to work on. As an economic development officer, right. I'll take it from there. But we all are that every day. Every interaction that we have matters. I mean, think about it even from your own viewpoint. Every interaction you have during the day matters. And we have to remember that as people.
Yep, I agree.
We're all in this together, and we truly do have an ability to make a difference in everything that we do.
Yeah, that's something we try to remember from a tourism perspective is, today's guest is tomorrow's resident, which is the following day's business owner. The folks coming into a community and have, an amazing experience. Yeah, I love this place. I love this area. How many times have we heard that when people visit somewhere and, man, I love that area. And, as you mentioned, you don't know what their story is. I'm going to create this new giant software, home office. I need a place to go. And so I think, this Southern Delaware County looks like a great place to do it because I see everything I want here, and I see things that I want for my employees ultimately. So yeah, we try to make sure ourselves, we're always out there repping as best we can. It's kind of our job, but we want to encourage everyone else to do that as well, because it is an amazing community, full of amenities. And we certainly appreciate, the partnership with yourselves at the City of Powell, all great folks over there, from an economic development standpoint, parks and rec, everything. Same for the county. Again, it's so important for us to be collaborative in that regard, because I do think sometimes tourism is that the one variable in the economic development milking stool, as I've heard you guys put that, that might get a little bit forgotten about or taken for granted. But we're doing our very level best every day to highlight all these amazing things. So many every day. There's businesses opening, ribbon cuttings of chambers every day. It's incredible. And we put those tools out there so that hopefully like you said, not all of them are going to be successful, but hopefully a lot of them are ultimately successful. And again, those folks get involved in the community. They serve on boards. Philanthropy, it's big. I mean, they contribute to the dog shelter or the community foundation or whatever the case may be. So yeah, it's an amazing, vibrant community. And again, we certainly appreciate your partnership in that. And I guess we're wrapping things up here. Is there anything else you'd want to share about, what's coming down the pike for Powell from any aspect, but ultimately, an economic development aspect?
No, I mean, the only thing I end is just get involved. Be, as you mentioned, be part of boards, use your expertise, to share and make your community better. We're putting together some committees for the Powell Development Corporation, and I'm meeting some truly extraordinary individuals that live in our community every day and saying, wow, I didn't know you lived here. I mean, I met a person who, she was the marketing director for an economic development organization in Virginia. And it's like, wow, that is literally living in our community right now. She's a stay-at-home mom right now, and she might get back into the workforce someday.
Sure.
And it's like, well, can you serve on a board now? And maybe later, you're serving in another capacity. But taking those folks and putting them at the table. I talked to a realtor last night at the Village Green open house, and he has been living here for eons. And he's like, I've got these ideas. And I'm like, well, I have a forum for you actually to use those ideas now. And he's like, I'd be interested in discussing that. And I think we as Powell are especially blessed because of the way this community was built and the high educational attainment rate and the experiences. I think I read someplace there's more Fortune 500 company CEOs in the Columbus market that live here than pretty much any place else in Central Ohio. I don't know if that's wholly true or not, but I mean, I just in my own industry, we have the regional economic development organization in the state, Jobs Ohio being state, region being One Columbus. I would say probably a quarter of the One Columbus staff lives in our area, if not the township and the city proper,
Sure.
Or Lewis Center and Jobs Ohio, probably not that high of a percentage, but I know a whole lot of them that also either live in the city or the area. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they recognize this is a fantastic community and this is what they do for a living.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Thank you. We have a parting gift for all of our guests.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that full?
Well, I've had several people ask me that, and I'm like, I think for the sake of liability concerns, that it is not full, but there does have a cork in it.
That's
so
awesome.
You're all set.
Very cute.
But that's your official little brown jug for appearing today, and something that is quintessential Delaware County. It'll be coming up here in September. Super excited for that. But I think, that's one of those things that's, it transcends just one particular area. It's the county's thing. Yeah. And Triple Crown of harness racing. It's Ohio's Kentucky Derby, if I'm even allowed to say that. So
I heard people wore like fun hats this year.
They did wear fun hats and got dressed up. So we'll hope to see that trend continue.
Start a trend.
Come up and you'll be there, right?
I will come next time.
The Delaware County Finance Authority is going to have another tent there this year, so we're excited for that.
That's fantastic.
But that's your parting gift.
That's over here.
Yeah, you may want to move that mic just a tad. But
look at that. That's fantastic.
But it is empty, so I'm sorry about that. But
it's okay. It can be filled. No, this is something that goes nicely on a bookshelf. And,
absolutely.
Memories and keepsakes of, when you work in this career, it's important to remember every community that you served and the people in it. And I do have things from every community that I have served in my career. I'm in the last back stretch, and it's so fun to think back at all those incremental impacts that you make and the relationships you built. So I'm truly appreciative of this, and we'll always have that memory of you, Tim.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. Well, thanks again for joining us, and we'll do it again soon and see where we've gone. Maybe we'll give it a year and then come back and see where we're at.
That's right. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Just kind of give an update. Right?
1 year down the road.
Yeah. We'll see how this thing goes at the zoo. So
that'll be fun.
Yeah. It'll be very exciting. So, well, hey, that's it for us, folks. Thanks for joining us today. We certainly appreciate it. If you heard anything here today that you liked, feel free to like, subscribe, share with others that care as much about the county as we do. So until next time, we'll see you around the county.